It's
So
okay.
I'm kind of like new doing this, but my
Okay.
goal is to make writing seem easier.
Love that.
So um I guess when I started writing my book, it was very overwhelming and it felt almost like the world didn't want you to write a book unless you could like get past all these like hurdles, right?
Hmm.
So the series is like it's twofold. I want to show everybody that it's easier than you think. Like
Hmm.
if you want to write, just write. And then I'm also loving learning like different techniques and things that other authors do because I'm trying to write the second book in the series. So yeah, just trying to get the word out.
Hey, I think that is amazing because I felt the same way. It was like,
Okay.
okay, dedicate your whole life to trying to like query and figuring
Yeah.
all of that out, and or figure out everything on your own without any guides to help you.
Yes. Exactly.
And I kind of made my own way and learned. Like, I even learned a lot with my first book where I'm like, okay, I'm never going to do this again. I know better for next time.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
So
yeah.
all right. I'm so excited. I want to hear all about it. So, I'm recording this if that's
Okay.
okay with you.
Perfect.
I'm gonna like break it up into snippets. If you would like the whole thing and you can use it however you want to, please let me know. I'm happy to share it with you. Otherwise, like I'll just post, I can't say I'm like the best at editing. I'm kind of new at all this. So
Same, same. We're learning
I'm
together. It's
just
all
going with
good.
it.
Yeah,
And I'll post things, obviously tag you. And, I'm probably going to post it to like Instagram, TikTok, but then put like the full video or like a larger portion on YouTube.
that's
So
awesome.
yeah, just, ah,
Perfect. I
that's
mean,
all I
I'm
got.
excited to even hear what you have to say and what you did
Yeah.
and compare stories
Yeah.
and help each other learn. So I'm excited.
Absolutely.
This is perfect.
Yeah. Well, okay. So you said you made your own way. I want to know more.
I did, yes. So, okay, so I wrote a book, and my first goal of writing my book was just to do something for me.
Okay.
It was kind of like always my goal. I just wanted to say, like, hey, look to my kids, look to my family. Like, I did
Yeah.
this. I put my mind to something, and like,
Yeah.
look what came out of it. So then I tried to say, like, okay, how am I going to get published?
Hmm.
And I looked up the traditional way, and it seemed so overwhelming because when you read the stats, it just seems like it's deny, 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 deny. And it's almost like luck. It has to be, you have to get the right agent at the right time who's looking for the right thing. And, I'm a mom, I'm a teacher. Like, I did not have all this time to devote to
Yeah.
just trying to get it published. So then my mind went to, okay, what can I do instead just so I can write for me? And that is where the idea of self publishing came from. And then once I found out about it, I was like, okay, this is absolutely what I want to do. I want to try it.
Yeah.
I want to see if I can do it. Writing a book is very, very fun. There is a lot to it, but I think once you break it down, step by step, and you have this formula, it's not as overwhelming as you would think it would be.
Yeah.
So I actually used TikTok for a lot of
I love
my
that.
recommendations. I
Okay.
got so much good help just watching other people's videos. So if our video can do that, I feel like that would be so cool,
Yeah, right? Like,
to help
why
others.
not try to help others?
Absolutely.
I
Yes,
know, I
because
agree.
all I had was this Word doc, and I was like, well, what do you do with it? So when
Yeah.
I started looking it up on TikTok, um, I found that so I use something called Readsy, and
Okay.
that is the program that I used online. I kind of like, as my very last edit, little by little, put it into the Readsy software. It's free. And it has a place to put every chapter, and then you can export your book into a PDF or an EPUB if you're going for like the digital version. It was all right there. It was free. It was amazing, and it was so easy to use. So then I was like, okay, now I have it looking like a book, but what do I do from here?
Yeah.
Back to TikTok. I went back to TikTok, watched some more videos, and I found out that you could create covers with Canva. Um, And I know that you could, hire cover artists, and that is for me like a goal one day. I would love to. I've seen so many awesome artists.
Yeah.
Um, but again, first book, I'm doing it for me. I just want to see like what I can do. So I got my husband who's an art teacher, and I was like, okay, together can we like work this
Yeah.
out a little bit? Here's kind of like what I wanted. We watched a lot of videos together, and it was all kind of right there. There's a KDP cover calculator that I used. And if you put in, how many pages you have and what your book's gonna, the size of your book, I did 5 by 8 because that seemed like what everyone on, TikTok was saying. So I tried a 5 by 8 book. And then there was something that you added, I believe it was 0.125 or 0.0125 extra to whatever KDP cover calculator
Like
gave
on
you
the outside
on the
or
outside.
okay.
Yes. Yep. Just I guess, since it's the cover, you want it a little bigger. Again, I just followed what other people had done.
Yeah.
And KDP cover calculator gives you, like a little template. So I clicked it and I drug it into Canva, and it has everything kind of like right there for you.
Yeah.
Where it shows you where the spine is, so I knew where to line up the font and everything I wanted. It showed you on the
That's
back cover,
amazing.
yeah, even like where the barcode would be, so that I made
Yeah.
sure, my writing on the back wasn't covering the barcode. And then on the front cover, I kind of like lined everything up. And the cool thing is once I went onto KDP and I, put all of the files on there, it does let you launch a previewer. And that's very helpful, because I just actually sent my second book through and I noticed the spine. I thought I had it right. But once I looked at, the preview, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's kind of not lined up perfectly center. It was easy to just go back and change it, before anything
Okay.
was printed. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
I read a lot on Kindle Unlimited, so I wanted, the book to be available on Kindle Unlimited. So
Yeah.
that's why I did everything KDP at first.
Okay.
I used their free ISBN. I just kind of went through. Um, this is where I got into a little hang up. Is I also, the other thing is I wanted it to be, as cheap as possible, because for me I thought, okay, I want to make a little something, but also I'm a new author and I want people to take a chance
Yeah.
on me.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
and I know me personally, if I am not familiar with the author, then if it's cheaper, I might be more willing to be like, all right, I'll try that out
Sure.
versus, something more expensive. So I tried to set it, just the cheapest it could go. Went through, I was waiting and waiting. And then I started seeing a lot about Ingram Spark. Oh, sorry. And that apparently is the only way, to get it on Target.com or
Mm,
BarnesandNoble.com, all of that. And, at this point, I'm getting excited and I'm
yeah.
learning so much. I'm like, okay, how do I make it so it can be other places?
Sure.
And then when you look into Ingram, it says, okay, take your ISBN. I took my ISBN from KDP, put it in, and it was like, denied. So that's what I learned is that
Okay.
you can't use that free ISBN. You have to buy your own
Ah,
if
that
you want it to go other
sure.
places.
So did you backtrack then or did you it's just not on those websites?
So I tried. I was like, okay, how do I get my own ISBN? I looked into purchasing it, but by that point, I forget exactly when it was that I figured this out. But the book was far enough along that I was like, okay, I'm not able to just make an easy flop
Mm,
switch of the ISBNs.
okay.
So apparently there is a process and it can take several weeks where, you appeal and you switch the ISBNs and you do yours instead. And I didn't look super far into that because it seems like a lot.
Yeah, that's such a
Um,
headache.
and it seems like
So
a
looking
headache.
back, your recommendation would be to just buy your own ISBN out the gate.
Yeah, so
Okay.
what I ended up doing because I did want it on Ingram and it seemed like such a headache trying to get everything switched, is I then did expanded distribution through Amazon. So it is
Mm,
able to be on Ingram and everything else. However, I get less of a percentage that way.
got it.
Where if
Okay.
I had bought my own ISBN and I
Right.
had put it into Ingram myself, I would have gotten more back. And
Right.
because of that, I had to raise the price a little bit.
Mm,
At first, I think I had it around $8 or something, and, I was gonna get, like, a dollar, whatever, that's
Yeah.
fine. But then I was keeping the $8 expanded distribution, I was like, negative cents. So,
Yeah.
I had to
Yeah.
raise the book price a
Can't do
tiny bit.
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is definitely, like, a huge lesson that I learned is from now
Yeah.
on, you put a little money into buying your own ISBN, but then you can take your book
It's worth it.
anywhere you want for
Yeah.
sure.
It's funny because it's like all of these publishing routes, and there are so many now versus 10, 20 years ago, all these
Uh,
publishing routes, it feels like everybody's gatekeeping. Like it feels like a big secret. And I
Yes,
don't know why, because it only ever benefits everybody if there's more books out. Like
of course,
there's nobody
absolutely.
that it hurts. So it's so interesting to me that it's not talked about more, and the path to get published isn't talked about more, because I can't even tell you, like, once my book was published, how many people reached out and said, oh, how did you do it, I want to be published. Like
Yeah.
it's the most common response I've heard, and the big thing stopping them all it isn't writing the book, it isn't the content, it's the overwhelming steps of how do you get published.
Yes, I have so many friends at school. I'm a teacher, and there's so many other friends who have come to me now, and they're like, "Well, I wrote a book, but I have no idea what I can do with it. So, like,
Yeah.
what did you do?" And I've been trying to share that way, and also encouraging. I feel like book talk is where I learned everything, so
Yeah.
I want to give credit back there. But
Yeah.
it's hard too because I feel like there's no right or wrong way to doing it. It's just
I agree.
personal
And
preference.
it is. And it's like what makes the most sense for you, right? So
Mhm.
I did a hybrid publisher, and this was after months of research. I knew that I wanted more control than what traditional publishing allowed, but I knew I didn't have the time to do everything. So
Yes.
I couldn't self-publish. And you have like those three avenues, and it's crazy that I had written a book and it was finished and I had no idea what those three things meant at all.
Yes.
Um, and I
You're
know
trying to
people who
Google late
are
at night. Yep.
right, right. I know people who are very happy with their decisions doing all three, and I know people
Mhm.
who are unhappy with their decisions doing all three. So
Absolutely.
it's personal preference and it's personal experience.
And I think there's pros and cons to every route that you could take,
Yes,
you
I
know?
would agree. I want to do a whole video on that. Like talk, traditional publishing, pros and cons, hybrid, pros and cons,
Yeah.
self-publishing, pros and cons, because it really is nobody had that information laid out for me
Mhm.
anywhere in one spot.
No, no. And honestly, the researching and trying to figure all of this out took a very long time.
Yeah.
I wish there was just
Yeah.
like one place I could have gone, like, let me read it all,
Yes.
let me watch it,
Yes.
and I could have figured it
Make
out.
a decision from there. Yes.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
tell me about your book.
Okay, so Shared Hearts is a mystery and a romance combined. And I started out writing a romance. That's always my favorite genre to read. I
Okay.
love romances. It's just been always what I gravitated to. As I was, about halfway through writing the story, my friends at school were like, "Hey, we're really into thrillers. Let's start a little book club. Read some thrillers with us." And at first, I was like, "Oh, I don't know, a little scary." But I read one, and I was like, "Okay, this is so fun!" Like it kept me guessing,
Yeah.
and I couldn't figure out who was behind it and the plot twist. Like that was so exciting for me.
Yeah.
Um, where I went back to my book and I said, like, okay, I want to keep that sweet romance story. I want that
Yeah.
happily ever after, but I want to put a little bit of a mystery in there, with
Yeah.
that plot twist that makes people like I think the most fun thing is when you think it's something all along and then all of a sudden you turn the page and your jaw just like hits the
Yep.
floor.
Yep.
So that was the goal. So I kind of went back to the
Yeah.
beginning. The first page and the first chapter became like the middle of the book. I rewrote the first couple chapters so many times. I feel like that's the trickiest part
Yeah.
that you want to get right.
It really
Um,
is.
yeah,
That in the end.
and the end, yes.
The middle just like writes itself, but
It does. And I always feel like so good about the middle because I feel like I'm
mhm.
in the world, the characters are doing their thing, I know what's going
Mhm.
on. But like you want that powerful punch of a beginning and the powerful punch at the end.
Yes. Yep.
So that is how Shared Hearts came to be, where it's the mix of romance,
Okay.
but also the mystery.
I love that.
The coolest thing though about the feedback that I've gotten from that is everyone I feel like takes something different from the book. The romance
Oh,
fans
how
are like,
fun.
"Oh, I love this. I love the happily ever after. I love the love story, the best friends, the lovers." And then there's, like the mystery fans who are like, I think I want to give another a romance book a try because I liked that
Yeah.
along with, a little bit of
Yeah.
everything.
That's so fun. I like it because it doesn't have to just fit into one genre. Like there are no rules.
Yes, that's
So
right. And the
yeah.
fun part I feel like about self-publishing and, going that route is I could do whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
And there
Yeah.
was no rules and I just made what I wanted to write and did it for me.
Exactly.
And then you get like
Exactly.
such a high and so excited after
Yeah.
your first book. You're like, okay, now I'm on a roll. Now I've got a
I
plan for
know.
book 2
I
and 3 and
know.
4 and 5.
I did not have kids when I wrote the first book, and I have two now. So the
Mhm.
second book is taking a very long time to
You
write.
know, I have 2 as well, and the only time you get writing done is when the kids are sleeping, pretty much.
hmm Which is, I very much like to sleep then too. So
Yes,
it's so hard.
exactly. It's always like,
Uh,
"Pick, am I gonna
yeah.
sleep or am I gonna work on my book?"
Yep. Or clean or work on my job. It's
Yes, exactly.
the struggle is real. Yeah.
It is.
Um, that's so funny. But it'll happen. Our sequels will happen.
That's right. I mean,
They will
little by
happen in due
little,
time.
I might
Yeah.
not pump them out as fast as some other authors, but that's okay,
Mhm.
whenever
Yeah,
they come out, they come
exactly.
out.
Yes, and the timing will be perfect when that happens.
That's right,
So,
yep, and it's fun.
uh, well, I wrote a young adult science fiction. I don't know if you've seen my page or looked at anything about it, but
Yeah.
it's basically I've actually been told by some people that it felt more like thriller, and that's not at all what I was aiming for. So I'm
Isn't
always
that
like, really?
so funny how that
It's
worked
so
out?
funny. Yeah. Um, so mine is it's like a dystopian. It's, however many years in the future, when basically like the whole country is like it's like Handmaid's Tale-esque.
Oh, love Handmaid's Tale. Mhm.
So yeah, it's kind of like what happens when the country starts getting like desperate.
Yep.
And then these teenage kids have these supernatural abilities because of like all the chemicals and garbage that humans fed on for
100%. I mean, that's
all these years.
sadly
So
very true.
yeah. So that's the premise of mine. And I wrote it as like, it was just like what you said, like a hobby. It was because I loved writing,
Mhm.
it was never, I wasn't even intentionally writing it to publish it. It was like my escape. It
Yeah.
was my fun time. And then I started sharing with people and they were like, this should be published. You should work on getting this published. And now here we are.
Yes, and
So
it becomes so fun, right? And you're just
yeah, it
like,
does.
"I wanna keep
It
going."
does. It's addictive. It's addictive to see like yourself on Amazon. It's so weird. It's so weird. I published this book in 2023 and I basically didn't start talking about it until like this month because it felt so weird to talk
Yeah,
about.
and that I feel like is another hard part that people don't talk about enough is the
Yeah.
fact that you need to become a writer, but also an editor, and then, like, a
Yeah.
marketing person as well
Yeah.
as you're
While
trying to get
dealing
your
with
name
the
out there.
imposter syndrome because you are a published author and that feels weird.
Yes, yes, and
Yep.
I mean, that was the hard part for me to get over too, is, like, not everyone's going to like it. It's not a book for
Oh
everyone
yeah. Oh yeah.
because everyone has different interests, you
Yep.
know?
I read something where it was like the reviews that people leave are none of your like they have nothing to do with you. And I agree with that so wholeheartedly. I mean, I love seeing them, especially because I'm like early in the stages of getting reviews. But
Yeah,
what someone's opinion is of the book is it's got nothing to do with me.
yep,
Because I can't
absolutely.
control what they like and what they don't like.
Mhm.
Um,
Like, you have to
so
write for yourself knowing that the
yes.
people who it connects with will find you, you know?
Yes, exactly. So I try to keep myself separated from the opinions of the
Yes,
book, but
it's
it's
hard
so
though.
hard.
Some
It
days
is.
it's easier than others.
Yeah,
Now do you really like science fiction? Is that kind of where
I
you
do. Mostly young adult, like young adult science fiction, growing up through like the Hunger Games, Divergent, Maze Runner era, like
You're
that, like
talking all of my
shaped.
favorites. Yep.
Yes. Yes. So, like, those were the worlds that I, like, wanted to live in when I was growing
Mhm.
up, and so that's kind of what this world ended up being, just incidentally.
I love it.
Um, so yeah.
It's the fun escape from reality.
Yes, yes,
Now, is your
exactly.
book available, digitally, or is it just
It's not, it's just, paperback
okay?
from Amazon. Eventually, I would like it to be digitally, and I'd like it to be an audiobook, but like I said, I'm, like, just getting into all of the things. So right now it's just paperback.
Yep, audiobook is another dream that I have. It's like
Yeah,
it's out of my grasp for now, but one day that would just be the coolest
one
thing.
day. I
One day,
know.
baby steps.
One day. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but I feel like this is great. I got a lot of good stuff out of this.
Good. Oh, I'm so
Yeah.
glad.
How are you feeling okay about the whole
I am feeling
conversation?
awesome. Yes. I mean, I love connecting with other writers and just
I know,
hearing
it's so fun.